Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anyway Whatever podcast. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is Carin Hazmat of Hazmat Design. Carin is an artist, illustrator, painter, and clothing designer, amongst a million other things. She's a very busy person, and I was happy she took some time to sit down and talk with me. We do business together a little bit and share projects, back and forth. She hires me, I hire her, I send her work, she sends me work, that kind of stuff, quite a bit. So we delve pretty deep into what it's like to try to survive as a graphic designer in the rock and roll design industry. There's a lot of good content here, especially if you're younger and you're just trying to get going. We cover a bunch of different stuff all the way down to legal issues. And so this is a good episode. It's full of information, and Carin's a cool person, and she'll be back on again for sure because she's just a well of information. So yeah, I won't waste any more of your time up front here. As always, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, give us a comment about the episode if you found it useful or entertaining. If you're listening to the podcast version, wherever you find your podcast, whether it's iTunes or Google or Stitcher or any of the other podcast sites, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. That stuff goes a long way to helping us keep doing the show. And it's been really fun for me to, have people on that have information that can be useful to people. So, and you can also find us on all the social media under Anyway Whatever podcast. So go follow, like, and join the conversation on all of those sites. And Anyway Whatever. Welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Fisher, and today's guest is the one and only Carin Hazmat of Hazmat Design. Hi, Carin.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on with me on a Saturday afternoon when you probably have some. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Nobody has anything better to do right now than sit and chat with their friends online. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me. This is rad.
Yes, of course. I always like to have all my guests give all their social media shout outs and plugs right up front in case people don't, people never listen to the end credits. Like they get to the end of the talking and they shut it off. So I want everybody to get their plugs up front. So where can people find you?
Online, it's at hazmatdesign.com is my main clothing site. And then Instagram is at Art of Hazmat, which is my art site. I do art and stuff. And then the fashion is at Hazmat Design. So basically that's it.
Awesome. Carin and I are in the exact same business, kind of like as our core. I wouldn't necessarily say core piece of income, but we both do merchandise design, and it's a very, very big part of both of our business. And if I was an asshole, I would probably say that we're competitors, but I don't believe in competition when it comes to stuff like that. There's enough work for everybody, but we work on the same jobs quite frequently, trying to get our designs into production for the same bands. And so we struck up a really awesome friendship, probably, like 8-9 years ago now.
Wow.
And, like she'll give me some work and I'll give her some work. Like if one of us is overflowing or one has a job that's better suited for somebody else. So we work really well together.
Markets well together too.
Right. So she does merchandise design, and she also has you have a clothing line.
I make things. So
you make custom clothing.
Yeah, I make custom clothing. So,
right. You can see some of her jackets in the back there.
I kind of stopped doing custom clothing recently. Now I just make one of kind clothings as plural. So yeah, I did do a lot of custom clothing for a while. Now I kind of, mainly for Alice Cooper and a couple other clients, but I toned down the custom clothing, went more towards jackets. It's a lot more fun. And it's like a lot more of like having a blank canvas sort of situation rather than sticking with someone's idea and exactly what they want and fitting them. It's a lot less technical.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on the Alice Cooper stuff as we get deeper in, and I definitely want to touch on the jacket stuff. I figured we'd probably just start off with commiserating about the current state of the merchandise business, because with no tours in this COVID shutdown, we're kind of at a standstill with that kind of work, and it's been strange. I had shirts for Sabbath that were supposed to go on tour with him, and I have shirts with Rancid that were supposed to go on tour with Rancid, and of course nobody's doing either of those tours.
Are they holding on to designs, or are they putting them for retail? Because I've been hearing that some people are gonna try to make them for retail and then redo for when people actually start touring, do a whole new line for that.
Actually, you know what? That I should probably hit up my people and see if that's actually an option, because I got a couple checks sitting out there I could get if these designs actually went into production. One of the things that me and Carin used to work for a couple of the same merchandise companies, and I've fallen off on a couple of those, and I picked up a different one that I don't sure. Do you do anything for King's Road?
No, I don't, but I know the name.
Okay.
Are they rad?
Yeah. So they are, and they're really, really good people. Both of the ADs over there, art directors over there that I work with, are super good dudes. Like really strong supporters of what I do. And I went on a run with them last summer where I did a ton of stuff. Like I did all the Rancid tour shirts, and when they were like, with the merch companies, if you get a couple designs approved, they're like, okay, this person can make us money, and they'll start giving you work for other stuff.
Yeah. That's what I love about it. I do a couple of them, and they're like, "You want to do more?" I'm like, "Yes, I do."
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't want to work or eat.
Yeah, exactly. I like eating. I like paying my rent. I will do art for whoever you want.
Yeah, you bet. But one of the things that is really cool about King's Road is they do have several bands that are like all-time favorites of mine that I've gotten to do stuff for. Like I got to do stuff for Refused, because they're on Refused is on that merch company, and Helicopters signed a deal with them for Helicopters and Lucifer, and I was told that when it's time for new designs, I might get a chance to do some Helicopters design, and then I might have to just retire. And then, and just dig a hole and stick myself in the ground, because if I got to do stuff for Helicopters, that'd be pretty awesome.
It's better. Just keep going. Yeah, I love that. So it's like magic when you you work with a lot of bands. A lot of bands I actually do have to research, because a lot of younger bands I don't really know. It's not in my personal music genre sort of thing. So I got to do a little research sometimes. It's fine. You just go to the demographic and their fan base and stuff like that. But you get a band that you absolutely love, it's just like, I don't know, it's like getting a Christmas present early. You're like, yes, this is so dope.
Yeah, I know. This is like like I said, like I don't think of anybody as competition at all, but I am still a human being, and I do still get doses of professional jealousy where somebody gets something that I want, and for like one of the running jokes of my career as a merch designer is that I have submitted like at probably 20 designs for Slayer over the last 15 years, and I've never had a piece approved for Slayer in all the years. And you get so much stuff approved for Slayer, and I'm so jealous. But your stuff is so good. I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve it, and I'm saying mine probably doesn't deserve it. But all this stuff you've been doing for Slayer, just for the last tour, it's some of the best merch I've ever seen for any band by anybody ever.
That coming from you, that's amazing. But you've gotten Maiden, and I've never done Maiden before.
Yeah, there is that. I always got that one. Right. I always got that one. I always get that feather in the cap. But that was a little different, because with the rock poster stuff, I was dealing with the venues more than I was the band, and the Iron Maiden poster came strictly through the promoter and the venue. So I can't really say that Iron Maiden like sought me out and hired me to do that design. But that Iron Maiden poster, and I'll for the YouTube people, I'll put a picture of it up. And as an aside, of all the people that I have on this show, I'm probably going to show the most pictures of your work, because you're probably my favorite merch designer working. So it's just going to be like a slideshow of Carin's designs.
Hide now.
I will. I'll sneak a couple of mine in if we talk about it. But the Iron Maiden poster, Carin had posted something that was one of the things that she saw when she was younger that really inspired her to start doing this kind of stuff. And I was very honored by that. But it ended up in some books and it ended up in the Grammy Museum. And so, I'm pretty proud of it. I'm not trying to diminish my my accomplishment with that, but that was pretty fun. That was a pretty fun one to do, and
it's iconic. It's an amazing, like everything about it. It's like the perfect gig poster.
I believe at the time it was the first screen printed like art print for any Iron Maiden show ever. I think everything else had always just been, standard glossies or, just like the regular text on yellow background thing. And I'm pretty sure as I was told that was the very first poster for Iron Maiden, that it was like an art poster.
Man,
so
I think
that
they
also was
bring back more silk screening posters. I mean, I know the gigs, it'll happen in the future, whether it's the fall of 2021 or later, it's going to come back with a vengeance for sure. But the specialness of having a silkscreen gig poster is just beautiful. That's like my favorite thing about going to the gig. When I went to the Slayer one here, I was just like sitting there staring like a little kid. I was like, where is it? I want to see it. Like, and every time I go to a show anywhere around the world, like I always want to see if there's any gig posters around, just because that's like, it's art. And it's beautifully done. They're all beautifully silkscreened, and it's just such a magical thing.
Yeah, that was like one of the things when, I started out doing flyers, just Xerox flyers for punk bands and stuff. And then when I moved to LA in 1995, like one of the first things I did was I went by the original Wacko, which is, now it's in Silver Lake now. It's La Luz de Jesus gallery and Wacko store. They used to have a store like a quarter of that size on Melrose way back when.
Oh wow.
And I went in there and they had a bunch of screen printed posters and I was like, yeah, I think I want to try to do that. And then while I was there, I bought a copy of like the first or second issue of Juxtapose, and it was just like full of like Kozik posters. And I was like, oh, fucking forget it. Like I'm so sold on trying to learn how to do this. And then I did a bunch, and then I took a break. And then when I started back doing them in like 99, it was like a full-time business for me for like 6 years.
That's so cool.
Well, it wasn't that rad because I would do posters for bands, and then I would have like a stack of 200 of them in my stores that nobody wanted to buy.
So I have a lot of posters hanging out. Like I'm just like, I need to get one of those. I need to get another flat filing system now. And I'm like, where am I in the room?
I know, like every poster artist that I've talked to so far is the same way. They're like, yeah. I have ones that like it's like weird because sometimes you'll do one and you'll be like, yeah, this is all right. And that band's a cool band, and it will like sell out really fast. And then you'll do one for a band you love and think is amazing, and then like you can't fucking give them away.
Yeah, it is so true. It is really true. It's bands I wouldn't expect, and I'm like, all right, flew off the shelves in like a minute. That's I'm stoked, like so happy. Just like, all right, I'm gonna babysit these for a while now.
Right, exactly. When I decided to kind of fully get out of the poster business in like 2010, mostly because I just didn't have any place to store all my stock. I just like sold everything. I found a wholesaler, and they just made them buy every single thing that I had.
Well, that's smart.
Even the stuff they didn't want. They're like, we don't want those. I'm like, you take it all or you don't get any of it. You're not getting the Green Day or the Iron Maiden if you don't take, this fucking, immolation poster too.
It's a group effort. You can't select. That's
right.
How bad do you want those Iron Maiden posters? Take it.
Exactly. The Iron Maiden poster was actually one that sold. Sold really well.
Yeah,
it's funny and not surprising in any way, shape, or form that I did a poster for Insane Clown Posse, and it was like
that.
I sold out of those in like 48 hours.
That's
like 200 pieces.
I didn't know you did ICP. Yes.
I did ICP shirts.
I did
too.
Shirts. I never did a gig poster for them, but every time it was like ICP and Wu-Tang. Every time they approved something, I was just like, yes. Like I don't know what it was. It was like such a fun thing. Never thought
I didn't know you got to do stuff for Wu-Tang. Now I'm super jealous.
I'm sorry. Only t-shirts.
I would.
Shirts.
fucking kill to do shirts for Wu-Tang Clan. I might kill somebody for that.
That was really fun. Every time I got a call for that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is super awesome. I'm a super fan of Wu-Tang. What's your favorite one though? What was the one that gave you the most thrill to be asked to do and to get something approved for personally?
Like, okay, so I just got started. I mean, I guess recently it's only been like 3 or 4 years, I think. And because I was doing merch for so long. And then my buddy that I worked with at Live Nation for a long time, and he's like, out of the blue, he's like, would you want to do something for Soundgarden? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, we got to do it by tomorrow though. And I'm like, all right, we'll figure this shit out. So I did them. And then like maybe a couple months later, another rep that I worked with, Matt, in San Francisco, he's like, would you want to do stuff for Black Sabbath? And like my heart dropped out of my chest and I didn't know what to do. And I was just like, yes. So, and he's like, yeah, we're having some approvals, it's been a little tough. Like, just shoot it, see what you got, see what you could do. So I did a couple, I don't even think I did sketches. I think I just went full force, did the one that I did with the coffin Batafumo, and then they approved it and they go, what else you got? And I was like, word. So, and like, 4 or 5 days without sleep later, I think I cranked out like 3 or 4 posters for them. And it was like, because they're like one of my favorite bands. And I was just like, I was like, all right. It was on this weird, like no sleep high of just like getting the work done. Like no one was allowed to talk to me. I'm like, don't even call. Shit, I don't exist. Make this done. And yeah, and then I got it done and they came out and I was just like, oh, it was a cool feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. When they did the record 13, Matt, it's probably the same Matt at Live Nation, had me do shirt designs, and I got like 3. I did like 4 designs, and I think I got 2 approved and out on tour. And that's a bucket lister for sure for anybody. I mean, that's fucking Black Sabbath. You know what I mean? It's like that was a huge one.
And it was their like that was the 13 that was like attached to their last tour because that was like right before, like wasn't it? I think that was like...
Well, they did that thing where they're like, this is our last tour. And then they toured like 3 more times or something. Right. They pulled a Kiss.
Yeah, as they all do. Hey, we're not going to get any more. Hey, we're back.
I can't tell you how many... I went on a run with Kiss that was just like unprecedented in my career. And like they came back like 4 springs in a row. And I got like 3 or 4 designs approved for like for each summer tour, and I was like, damn, like I paid some rent with Kiss checks for a while there. It was awesome, and I'm not a super huge Kiss fan, but there's just so much to work with there with them. There's so much visual stuff.
They have a lot of good visual iconography to work with. It's really fun.
For sure.
Yeah, same with Motley and me. I did that. I did the last tour, and then I saw they're coming back again too. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do some Motley again. But it was awesome.
Are they really going to do more tours?
I don't know now. They were good.
Well, not now, but they were planning on it even after they said they'd quit. These sons of bitches.
It was called that was to be this year, I think. And I think it was with
That's hilarious.
And someone and I don't know. It's not like my genre of music, but it was rad doing stuff for them.
Yeah, for sure. I turned in some Motley Crue stuff. I don't think I ever got anything approved. I did some stuff for Warrant, and I did some stuff I think I got Warrant and Poison stuff, through, which was pretty cool. I mean, I never listened to that kind of music. I was so into like hardcore punk at that time that the hair metal bands they were the exact opposite of what I was trying to figure out about life.
Yeah.
But now I can appreciate them kind of for what they are now. But it was just fun to be able to do stuff for those bands. Those are huge bands. I got to do stuff for Van Halen, which was pretty cool.
Rad, yeah. No, I'm the same way. I missed the whole hair metal pop. I missed it. I was not. But I respect it now. But still doing it. Like I remember one of the first things I did was Poison. It was Skynyrd first, and I grew up on Skynyrd because I'm from the South. So I was like, yeah, and then Poison. I'm like, cool. All right, let's see what we got with this. But it was like a different.
I think I got one Skynyrd through one time. So that was another one to check off the list.
Skynyrd. So good. Yeah, doing their merch was another thing when they're like, do you want to do Skynyrd? I'm like, do I? Are you kidding me? I'm from Florida. Yes, I do.
Right. I forgot you were a Floridian.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm from the crazy state. Mm-hmm.
I actually read, there's like a lot of jokes about like Florida man and like, about all the weird shit happens in Florida
Oh yeah, it
in
does.
this country. And I actually, because I'm a fucking total nerd, I read this article that said the reason why that it appears to be the case is, Florida is a little bit weirder than the rest of the country, but there was a law in Florida that I don't know when it went into effect, but it was like a freedom of information thing where every single thing that gets reported through 911 or any emergency service automatically becomes available to the press.
Yeah.
And so the press can just grab every single stupid thing that happens in Florida, whereas other states don't necessarily have that same thing where, either the media has to wait to get it or whatever. But in Florida, it's just all available. And so that's why it seems like so much crazy shit happens there.
It is. I mean, growing up there was definitely weird. I will say that.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine, especially for someone like us who's just a little bit off the normal path, the South in general can be weird like that, where they don't necessarily cotton to weirdos like us so well.
Yeah, you're right. They do not. Absolutely. Yeah, it was definitely challenging growing up. I mean, now I don't know what it's like now, but I mean, when I was a kid, having like different colored hair, like I think my school shaved my head because I dyed my hair
oh
a
my
different
God.
color. Yeah, and like it was being slightly alternative was definitely challenging.
Yeah, yeah, I bet.
And I was like, you cannot control me. So I probably made it a lot worse than I should have as a child too, because I'm hard-headed,
of course,
kind of a dick about it. So yeah.
Oh, that absolutely, that actually fucked up my life pretty good for about 2 or 3 years when I was a teenager. I just wasn't going to be told what to do.
Oh, yeah.
So I just took off. I started sleeping on couches and living in punk houses when I was like 13 or 14 years old, 14 or 15.
Yep.
So yeah, I feel you there. I was in the same boat. I was like, you ain't gonna tell me. Like I got a mohawk and then I came home and my parents were like, no, that's never gonna work. And so I just immediately bleached it and they're like, no, at least dye it back the normal color. So I dyed it green and then they were just like, okay, we've had enough of you. And I was all, later.
My childhood right there, because like I think after like my school made me shave or I was gonna get expelled, I went to private schools and then came this whole drama and then I shaved my head and then I like dyed it like bright yellow, like tennis ball yellow, and then the school was like no, and I'm like and like yeah, and then I had a mohawk for a while and they're like you can't do that, and I'm like everything I do you say I can't do, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So
yeah. And then you ended up going to Rhode Island School of Design, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yep. So I was up there for about 4 or 5 years, and then I did a semester in Switzerland too. So at
wow.
Art Basel School of Art. I can't pronounce.
That's amazing. I did not know that. That's totally awesome. Oh,
yeah, it was right.
My Bubba the Basset Hound's coming through to check on me to make sure I'm still here. He always comes through. So if you hear a bunch of noise back there, it's just Bubba making his rounds.
Sure. I think mine's sleeping. Yeah, he's a little old man. That's all I want to do is sleep anymore. And he gets me up when he needs to go out. He's like, all right, we're doing this. And I'm like, all right, we're doing
this. Totally. They get weird. So tell me more about this Switzerland thing. Because I didn't know that, and that's cool
so
to be able to, when you're young, to travel to someplace and do something cool like that.
Oh yeah, it was rad. So I did a semester over there under a bunch of like crazy type masters, and I then a long time, so all the names I didn't refresh, so I'm gonna not know them all.
No, that's fine.
I mean,
there's a running joke on this show that when
looks like a magical elephant. It was all based around like, Swiss typography. So it was really cool and really awesome. I mean, until we all got food poisoning at the end what was it? It was something like Tom's American Cafe that the whole class went after. I'm like, this is a bad idea. And we all got food poisoning. So, yeah.
I can attest as a person who's toured in a band in Europe, I can attest to anything in Europe that claims to be American is going to be very funny to actually see how close they thought they got it to being actually American. And I love it because you know what? We deserve it because we do the same fucking thing to everybody here. It's like Chinese food is nothing like actual Chinese food or Italian food for that matter.
I remember turning to my friend and I was like, this is a bad idea. And we split. I was like, all right, they can't fuck up a cheese pizza. Literally, everyone got something different that night and everyone got the worst food poisoning where we all wanted to die, horrible deaths. And we pretty much did. So like, I think only one person made the final and we all were like, you did that. Like, you messed up everything. Why did you try? So yeah, and like a cheese pizza, food poisoning for I think 4 days or something. Yeah, so I have learned now anywhere in Europe, I mean, it was already a sense not to do anywhere that says American whatever. So yeah, you just don't do that.
Yeah, when the band that I was in, the tour we did, the last tour I ever did, it fucking ruined me and I had to quit the music business forever, was in 2011. And we went over and we did like all over like Germany and Slovakia, Czech Republic, all over. And, you know, the band I was in was pretty crusty. And so we played a lot of like punk squats and like, you know, more crusty type places. So it was all vegan. Every place we played, the food they served us was vegan. And I am not a vegan. And I'm totally pro-vegan.
Yeah.
I think people should do whatever they want. And I understand the ethics. You know, I have my own personal ethical problems with eating meat, but I don't know how I will ever get away from it.
Yeah.
That I'm sure is going to launch a million comments in the comment section. But I ended up having to eat at gas stations like a lot because it was like I could go there and get a sandwich, you know, and it was funny because there would always be like the American Texas barbecue sandwich, and it was like their idea of barbecue sauce was ketchup, you know.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, I'm vegetarian, but even with that, I was like, I'm sketchy about what I eat anyway. I saw some stuff, and I'm like, I'm not even sure about that. Like I remember I lived in Germany for a while, and when I first got there, I didn't know any English. I didn't know English. I didn't know any German at all. So at the first day I landed, I stayed at the owner of the design firm's house, and no one was really there. So I was like, all right, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go walk around. Everything was closed because it was a Sunday. I didn't know this because I was like the first time like living in a different country. And then the second day, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go out again. And everything was closed because it was a holiday. Third day I went out again, and that's all they had. I was like, oh yeah, so it was like third day not eating, and I was like, all right, I might die. But I didn't. It had the raw hamburger on toast, and I was like, I just can't. I'm gonna wait. I'm good, thanks. Like some food that day later, but it was an awesome experience. But yeah, it got me a second to get used to, you know, what's available, what's not, and, you know, eating habits.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that just, you know, if you're going to have a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle, it's just part of it. You know how to live that way because that's what your life is like. You're just trying to, especially in the States. I think it's way better now than it could have ever been before. Well, I mean, nothing's the way it was because of the lockdown, but especially in Southern California, like there's vegan options fucking everywhere now, you know, or at least vegetarian options. I am personally, I appreciate that. And I do appreciate the fact that I actually can find vegan stuff now that I like, because there's the trade of vegan chef is gotten so elevated by the fact that it's more in demand now that there's a lot of vegan stuff I actually really enjoy.
Yeah, it's true. It's definitely true. Yeah, we're spoiled. I mean, when I was living out there, it was like 98, 99. So yeah, there was like finding anything was just basically impossible.
Yeah, I bet. So I know there's some of your jackets next to you. I wanted to talk a little bit about how hard it must be to put that many studs in a leather jacket.
Yeah, it's time consuming. It's definitely time consuming, but it's kind of a fun, like, you just kind of zone out and go to it. Like, I don't know, I grew up kind of like painting my friends' jackets, and we all made our own jackets and studying yeah, exactly. I know. So it's kind of like, I always call like chainmail and that sort of stuff like heavy metal knitting. So it's kind of like it's still like a little, you can crafty and you kind of zone out and do it and you come out with something magical in the end. So it's nice like when I'm just watching a show. I mean now a lot of things I put in a lot of things by hand, but a lot of things that are more tricky, I have a kick press that's behind me. That thing.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
cool.
it's still one at a time, but with a lot of the spikes and stuff like that because I'm kind of OCD about that sort of stuff. But I don't, spikes will come undone after a while. So no matter
Sure.
how tight you crank them with use, it comes undone. So I learned, and it's kind of from trial and error. I was putting some like super glue and some epoxy in the middle, and then closing them, but they still one or two would fall out. So I got this for the kick press spikes because they lock in, and then there's no threading to make them fall out.
Right. So do you actually make chainmail by hand?
I used to, and then I got
Okay, because that is tedious. I had a friend when I was in the video industry that it's full of like D&D guys and like LARPers and stuff. And there was a guy that I worked with who was an insanely talented artist named Matt Weathers. Shout out Matt Weathers. He made his own chainmail shirt, like just sitting on the couch after work, and he brought it in, and like I was like, I just can't even imagine the level of commitment it takes to make something like a whole shirt out of chainmail. It is so impressive.
It is. It takes, I mean, I've only gotten to collars and like when I was a kid, but also I'm one of those people that I can't really just watch TV. I have to be doing something as well. So a lot of times, like at night, if I'm watching a movie or like I'll have something on for like a background noise. If it's a movie I care about, I'll really watch it. But if it's something like a TV show or something like that, I'll like work on something or sketch on something or draw on something. My brain has to be doing 50 million things at once. So yeah, the chainmail was a good thing. So I'm like still doing something while watching something, and it's kind of brainless, but nice.
Yeah, right. That kind of touches on one of the main themes that's reoccurring when I talk to people for this show. I'm trying to get as wide a spectrum of people as I can. I've had actors and comedians and musicians, and special effects people, all these different type of people who do all these different really amazing, cool, creative things. And the thing that keeps coming back over and over is the DIY. It's the do-it-yourself thing. And everybody I've talked to is like, I just started doing it and kept doing it until it was the thing that I do. And I absolutely love that with the jackets, because I've watched you over the years like really turn this into an art form that's just, it's amazing to me. And I love that you just were like, I'm gonna fucking start making these goddamn jackets, and you just kept doing it, and now it's what you do.
Yeah. I mean, also I never found anything that I always kind of make my own clothing anyway, because I can never go into a store and be that's what I want. I mean, once in a while boots, it'll be like, yeah, but I'll be like, that just fits weird, or that I don't know. I'm really picky and I'm not typical with the girl sort of thing. So I'm just like,
no, that's not being picky. That's called having taste. And that is another
right,
reoccurring theme, is that
we'll use that.
People who make things have good taste. And the reason that we're so insufferable sometimes is because we are a slave to that. And so that's an attribute,
Well,
Carin.
okay, good. I'll take that. Yeah, so I just started making them, and then some of the ones I made were just like, the first ones were the patch jackets, and then I was like, all right, well,
those.
I'm gonna start. I kind of wanted to so I'm constantly fine tuning it. So now I got my own manufacturer, and I'm doing the jackets myself too now, rather than doing. Before I was taking like basically dissecting old leather jackets and refitting them because the ones in the 80s really fit bad, and then I kind of take apart and then make new jackets out of the old ones using the old leather, because sometimes with the crackle and stuff like that, it's actually really nice. And it's really hard to redo that. So, but then recently I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start working with Napa leather more, something more soft and, a little more high fashion looking. And that's kind of what I've been doing now. I mean, I still once in a while work with the vintage leather, which is just kind of fun. And, it's a little more, they all have a different feel to it, but
Well, yeah, it's got an organic distressing to it it's because it's lived a life, and you can't fake that.
You can't fake
very well.
like t-shirts. Like I love vintage shirts. Like I want that shirt that's holding on by its last hope and thread, and like that someone has worn to death, even if it wasn't me. But like to me, those are my favorite shirts. And then some, like I'll like check out a band shirt that I kind of like that they try to like redo it, and I'm like, no, you can't. You just can't you could try, but you can't nail it. Like there is some
Yeah,
in vintage clothing that I love.
I get asked to make shirts that look like they're 40 years old. Like that's kind of the style that I've gotten. I don't want to say pigeonholed into,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty good at that, and that seems to be what a lot of bands nowadays, they just fucking want that. They want shirts that look like they're, old vintage shirts.
Exactly.
And especially some of those bands like Aerosmith and bands like that, like that's just all they ever want is stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's fine. I'm good at it, so I do it.
Yeah, no, the art I think can be redone perfectly. It's like the actual holes in the garment. Because you know how they try to do that, where they try to make it like either burned out a little bit or a little bit of holes in the garment. And like one company I worked for a while ago, they actually took a shotgun and blew their shirts out with shotguns. And that's the only time that I saw it. And I was like, that looks real. Can't we just get shotguns for all clothing that we want holes in it? Like, I will take that job. That sounds like so much fun.
I know one of the ways that they do that, and they do it with the pants, the distressed pants, is they throw them into cement mixers with stones, and the stones automatically they'll wear holes in shirts. They'll distress things in a more organic way, and I've seen that done. That it actually works pretty well.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, it's again like is one of those nerd things that I know. Hey everybody, welcome back. Up front, I mentioned that there was we were gonna cut back in because we had some technical problems with the first time we recorded this. So me and Carin are gonna do our best to get our flow going again and get back to where it got cut off. When it cut off, what we were talking about was Carin had been doing some patch jackets and some one-off shirts that had band stuff on them, and she started finding that she was getting in trouble with the bands and with the clothing companies. So maybe let's see if we can dive back in there.
Yeah, so I would say many years ago when I first got started, I just would go and I always liked collecting vintage patches. Whenever I'd go out to a swap meet or something like that, I always thought there was so much fun. And there was stories along with a lot of these, especially the back patches. People would write on the back. There was like little love stories. There was a great old vintage Guns N' Roses one I had that I put on a jacket that had this like amazing love story in the back, and it's like, I love you forever. It's this rad jacket. So I was just kind of assembling these jackets off of old Levi's. I'd buy old stock of everything. So vintage Levi's, vintage patches, and then I'd hand stud them and hand sew on the patches and everything like that, and just make jackets that I liked and grew up with and things I wanted to make. Little did I know that I came into a lot of problems with the band was only one. The bands, I only had problems with one thing, with altering t-shirts, and that was something I learned later. And then with the jackets, Levi's got mad at me. Yeah, I got a cease and desist saying that I was basically ruining their jackets. So.
Yeah, that one is super weird to me. I on some level, I guess I can understand Levi's intellectual property, because that jacket is it's pretty distinct. But with the bands, like if it's a thing that you bought in the aftermarket, and you weren't just like printing your own Guns N' Roses shirts and then putting patches on them. I know you had told me before that your lawyer said let's just not do it because it's easier. It's easier to just not do it than it is to get in trouble. But I just have a hard time believing they'd have any legal recourse if it's a piece that you bought in the aftermarket. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I remember the first cease and desist I got, I thought it was a joke. And then I wrote back saying, I'm not bootlegging your shirts. I'm buying actual vintage shirts. Then I got another cease and desist from the band directly, and I was like, whoa, hey, this is no joke. When I started talking to their lawyers, I was like, and I was arguing the same fact. And I was like, I'm buying this. It's dead stock. It's from most of the stuff was from the 80s and 90s. So it's been a while. And, I'm just basically cutting them up, adding some studs here and there, and I'm doing only limited. Each one of them one of a kind, and I did 5. So, and then after the whole talking with them, basically what it boiled down to, the lawyers were saying is that since it's such a gray area, But logistically speaking, if you buy a Vince shirt at a concert and you cut off the sleeves, that's trademark infringement because you were altering that original product. So we could all shirts that we cut sleeves off in the summer.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that one's as a man. That's a tough pill for me. I would be so mad if that happened to me. I'd be like, fuck you, I'll fucking burn your whole fucking operation to the ground.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, okay, and then I just moved on and took a different direction anyway because
Sure.
I just didn't want to deal with the speed bumps every 2 seconds. It was always something, and I was just like, you know what? All right, I'm not gonna deal with it. I know so many other independent designers alter T-shirts and cut up shirts and do things like that. So I know it's a market where people sell things, but I just got out of it just because it was I have them all. I should frame them all. It felt like it. I was getting a cease and desist again, and I'm like, again? What did I do this time? I was just doing things.
Well, I think for people like us, it is like we do have that thing in us where we're like, oh well, I've got a million ideas. I'll just move on to the next one and not deal with this bullshit. So I mean, that fits right on in with how I look at things. So I'm like, okay, fine. If you put a wall up, I'll just go and build a different thing, and you can put a wall up in front of that later if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Get mad at me about that, or at least yeah, totally. No,
Totally.
it's true. I just moved on from there because I still don't really understand it because everything was found goods. It's assembled found goods basically. But after way too many discussions with way too many lawyers, I was like, all right, I'm just not gonna deal with it.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, your clothing thing, your clothing design business was partly how you got connected with Alice Cooper. Although I do think you told me that you met Alice Cooper first by having been in one of his music videos.
Yes, I was in what was it called? It was a number of years ago now. The first music video. Oh, I forgot the name of it. So yeah, it was a bunch of songs, like a melody of songs, and it was all done in this really awesome old asylum that's in downtown. They just tore it down. I forget the name of it. But it was beautiful. It was really cool to shoot in because they still had all the old paperwork. So I'm just sitting there like going through all the old stuff and like finding the old like they had like still like the old paperwork from all the old people, the inmates and everything. And I was like, this was cool. So yeah, I was actually one of the video girl, and I was a nurse and nurse and slash kidnappee. And during the music video, there was actually a earthquake that happened, which was very odd. And I'm still like, I'm not from California, so any earthquake happens and I get really freaked out. So we had this whole scene in this whole like white room in the insane asylum, and the band's playing, and Alice just choking me out with a scarf. And then all of a sudden, the world just starts moving. And I was just like turned into a squirrel. I was like, oh. And then we just kept going. But it was so surreal to be in that situation in the middle of an earthquake.
Oh, I can't even imagine that. It must have been weird just doing a music video with Alice Cooper because he's such an iconic dude. And then to have like that thrown into the mix, he must have just been like, got home at the end of the day and went, well, that was a day.
Like that happened. Yeah, and it was such a random thing because the phone call I got was from a friend of mine in New Orleans, a photographer friend, and she's like, do you want to be in Alice Cooper music video? And I was like, yeah. That was literally the answer. And they were like, show up at this time. I'm like, all right.
And then you kind of parlayed that into like working with them, right? Like you're friends with the family at this point, and you do like their stage gear and merch and album packaging and like a lot of stuff for them now.
Yeah, I love them so much. They've become like a second family to me. They're just such wonderful people in all ways, shape, and form. But yeah, I literally got the question posed because they found out that I worked. I was at that time, I was still art directing a lot of brands around Los Angeles, a lot of independent brands and a lot of high-end brands. And then they said they needed new wardrobe for the new upcoming tour, and it was the Theater of Death tour, was that tour. And Along Came the Spider. That was the music video. Sorry.
Got it.
That's how my brain works. It comes in later. So yeah, and I was just like, yeah, I could do that. He needed a bunch of tuxedo suits, and I just got all my other guys together. And this is before. I mean, I'm kind of self-taught when it comes to fashion. So at that time, I was doing production for a lot of brands like Junker and Jaded by Night and Black Hearts Brigade. So I was like doing the art and for certain brands, doing the production for certain brands. I was doing a lot of everything. And this time, I was just like, okay, cool, I'll figure it out. I got pattern makers. I know a little bit of pattern knowledge on my own. You know, I know where to get the leather. I can sew a little bit of my own, but I also have sewing contractors. And we whipped out I think that in like I'd say like 2 weeks or something. It was a little bit of a crunch, but it was so much fun to do.
I can totally, I can imagine. Did like I mentioned in the first segment that we did that me and Carin have been friends for about a decade, and I've watched her kind of go through a lot of these projects, and I'm trying to. Did you do stuff for Rob Zombie?
A while ago, I did. I've done merch for Rob Zombie. Yeah. So yeah, I don't. Yay. Yeah, and I continually, every once in a while, I'll still do merch for Rob. Him and Sherry, they're beautiful people. I really like them.
Yeah, I used to go to Kings games, and one of my good friends, his brother works for the Kings, and so he got season passes, and Rob's seats were like right where our seats were, so I'd always be in the beer line with him or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, he was always
Cool.
a cool guy. I actually had a total digression story about Rob Zombie that doesn't even include me. I had an old friend of mine who I interviewed yesterday for the show. And when he first moved to LA, him and Rob lived in apartments and their doors faced each other, like on a second floor.
Amazing.
And when the Northridge earthquake happened, they were both living in that apartment building because like Rob had just moved back, had just like kind of moved to LA to like get it going, and Joe was down here getting it going. And so he's like, dude, when that earthquake happened, it was like me and Rob Zombie standing on our porches in our boxer shorts in the middle of the night going, what the fuck
So
just
good.
happened?
Oh, I love that story.
Yeah. So I mean, and then actually met Rob once at totally different thing with the same guy, Joe Sib. We went to go see Gorilla Biscuits or something, and like everybody in LA was at that show, like Rob Zombie and the dudes from Sugar Ray, and it was just like, and like of course
Wow.
Joe's one of those dudes who knows everybody, so it was like, hey, what's up? And it was like the most LA thing ever.
One of those shows.
Yeah, totally. It was like I want to see Gorilla Biscuits, like all the old heads, that knew him from back when they were a band in the '80s. Um,
Yeah, that's rad.
so, um, did did you also did you do some like live stage work with Alice Cooper? Does that seem like
Yeah.
something I remember correctly too?
Well, yeah. So I've been on stage with him a couple times, just playing the nurse. It's just a fun thing. That's his wife Cheryl does the nurse now, and before it was his daughter Calico. And so I'll come out and hang out, and then we'll all go on stage as the nurse, or I'll just make sure some wardrobe needs fixing or something like that. So yeah, I'll get chased by the snake. The snake and I are now friends. At first we were not, but we have learned to cuddle together, and now there's a bond between Julius Squeezer and I. Before I was not okay with Julius. So
I wonder how many Juliuses there's been over the years.
what happens is at the beginning of every tour, I forget the guy's name, a really nice guy, he comes with like 3 or 4 snakes. And what he'll do is these snakes are they're molted and they have like their whole thing that they have to do. And then he'll kind of like test them out. He's like, this snake's the one to go. And then I hear throughout the road they kind of switch the snakes out a little bit. But that's what yeah.
Yeah, I should have figured it was something like that.
Yeah. At the first Psycho Vegas, when I performed with them there, I was on snake duty. And so and they get cold, which I didn't know. And I was rooming with Calico, and she was teaching me all these things. And she's like, oh, we could just nap with him. And I'm like, nap, what? So we did. We literally watched TV. The snake was like on top of both of us on the bed and watching TV with us, which is even creepier. But Julia's just chilling out, staying warm. Like, he sits in his little bag in his little box normally. But it was, yeah. So I've never really been a snake person. So this has been kind of interesting for me to be like, all right, we're hanging now.
That's awesome. That's awesome that you bring up Psycho Las Vegas, because me and Carin live in Los Angeles, and for a long time we lived like 2 miles from each other, and now like we live like 30 miles from each other, but we only ever really see each other at Psycho Las Vegas Music Festival like once, like every other year, which is just ridiculous.
I know, and now it's not this year, but next year hopefully.
Yeah, we just got our hotel cancellation.
I know. I just got mine resolved actually today as well, because I was gonna stay in the Luxor until you were talking about there was blood on the ceiling.
Yeah, what got cut off
Now,
in the
now
last
the Luxor's
episode
not
that we
gonna
the
happen.
the last time we tried to record this, the thing that got cut off was, I was like, "Are you staying at the Luxor?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah." Last time we stayed there was blood all over the ceiling, and she's like, "How does that happen?" I was like, "I don't know, but we don't stay there no more."
I literally told my girlfriend that when we got back, and I was like, "So if we go back another year, we're not gonna stay at the Luxor. I think this is a sign that we're not supposed to stay there because there's blood on the ceiling, and I can't deal with that."
Yeah, totally. It looked to me like it was like sometimes like junkies have like a tiny bit of like bloody heroin left in the very end of their syringe, and they like squeeze it out on a ceiling. It's just like it's just like a junkie thing, and I'm pretty sure that's what it was just like some.
That's still
It's
you're not
might
selling it. Not selling it. Let's put it that way.
it might be worse than the other options on the
That's
table.
like, oh, full blood on the ceiling, and now you're like, there's needles involved, and someone's probably shooting up in that room, and I'm definitely not staying at the Luxor ever.
Which is too bad, because I used to stay there quite a bit, and it was a really nice place, and maybe they'll get it together. I mean I don't, who knows what is going to happen to the entire city of Las Vegas with this whole pandemic thing. I mean, that's got to be hurting big time. Those things are money machines, man.
I could only imagine. I know. I know they were talking about reopening, but I haven't checked up on the news and what everything. Every day, that's all I do is just like, I'll have times where I'm like, all right, check the news, see what's going on in the world. Because it's been so weird.
Yeah, of all the places on earth that I don't think should open back up, it would probably be Las Vegas, just because of the proximity. Everything is meant to be packed, and it just doesn't make sense. Yeah. Like I get some of the stuff, and I get some of the businesses that can come back, and like maybe I understand movie theaters if you have a small enough crowd, but I don't think I'd want to sit in a room with that many people breathing, even if it was you were 10 feet apart or whatever. I don't know. There's just some places that I'm not sure that I would be comfortable going until this gets way further contained than it is right now.
Kind of where I'm at too. I know they're opening up stuff, and I've been trying to do, as much as I can, like, supporting some of these small businesses in downtown and for restaurants and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd feel comfortable going to a movie theater just yet.
Yeah.
There's a few things like that where I think about, I'm like, I think I'm good for a little bit. I'll hold back. Hold back just a little bit longer.
Yeah, I did like that the movie companies were like, well, if people can't go to the theaters, we'll just put these first run theater like movies we have in the can. We'll just sell them for $20 on Amazon, on online. You can stream like brand new movies that would normally be in the theater for like $20. And I was like, yeah, shit, yeah, I'll do that.
I've been watching so many movies at home by myself. Like, that's one of my favorite things to do. Like, turn on the lights. I feel like a little kid, and I'm just gonna watch something, like, or like play video games. I'm like that person. So I was like stoked about it. I know. It's like
Totally.
Telling me to stay inside. Don't threaten me with a good time.
Totally. Well, with this podcast thing and doing the movie reviews, I've been having to watch a lot of movies, like two a night sometimes. And Christy, yeah, Christy's been getting to see a bunch of movies she's never seen before. Like we just watched Cool Hand Luke the other night because I had to do a review of that. And
love that movie.
yeah, and she was like, I've never seen this movie, so good. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yes.
So it's been cool. Like it's been like anybody who listens to this show knows that I'm like a total movie nerd. So any any reason to watch movies is good enough. But if you if you attach a goal to it, I'll watch as many as you got.
Dude, I have so much fun watching, and I'm one of those people that it's hard for me to just watch a movie, so I'll kind of work or draw and watch a movie on top of it too.
Yeah.
And like when this first thing happened, I was like, all right, apocalypse movies A to Z, and I literally just made a list of all the apocalypse movies I was thinking. I was having the best time of my life, just sitting there drawing and watching like all these apocalypse movies, and like.
Yeah, I did some of those too. I did like Day of the Comet and like some of those 80s ones.
Oh, I went deep. I went deep because I was like the core, and I was just like, yeah, like it was. Some of them don't hold up very well, but they're all highly entertaining.
Yeah. I think that's the thing was when you're going back to the 80s stuff. Like, I mean, most of it doesn't really need to hold up as long as it makes you feel good about your life by watching something that you remember that you love so much. Yeah, I'm totally all about that. So yeah, I don't know if they keep Vegas closed. I don't know when me and you are actually going to see each other in real life again.
I know, and now without any shows, I mean, there's kind of like we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully by next year, everything will be back to normal-ish. I'm sure there's not going to be a real normality after this. I mean, in the long run, maybe, but I mean, hopefully we'll have shows again. Hopefully we'll have concerts again. Hopefully people will be able to tour again.
Yeah.
I mean,
so does that mean you can make a living?
Yeah, we can both make a living. And on top of it, I mean, there's so many people right now, like roadies, that are just completely grounded. And, it's just, there's so many jobs and people out of work right now because there's no tour industry.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. One of the things on this show is that I always ask people who are really, really well established and super talented in one aspect of their life that there's like a hobby that they do, that's like another creative outlet or some other way that they spend their time. And I asked Carin this question, and her response was no, because I do exactly what I like doing all the time, all day, and so I don't really need a hobby. And I was like, you gotta do something. And she's like, well, occasionally I go and I go to the archery range. And I was like, okay, now that I like. So how did you find yourself in getting into archery?
I just needed a way because like between the clothing business and doing the art, I find myself inside a lot and just working a lot. So in the past, like I'd say 2 years, I was like, all right, I need to start eating out more, being more social. And there was even shows that I wanted to go see, and I'm like, oh, I can't because I have a deadline for this, or this magazine needs this, or it was always kind of something. So I was like, all right, we're gonna start restructuring life a little bit here and start having a little more social life and also getting out into the world more because I mean I go run at a gym which is still in an inside just because downtown.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, it's a good way. We go, my best friend and I, we go to this place in Pasadena. It's a beautiful archery range and there's a little hike over there. It's right under the bridge and it's great. It's a good little couple hours to get away out in nature. I mean, as much as you can in Los Angeles. And it's like a nice breather. It's important to get away. And like, as a designer, you forget about it. At least I do. And especially when I'm like on a computer all day long, and then I'll really go into this like work sleep mode, which isn't really the healthiest. But I'm also just trying to get it done because I'm excited about doing this drawing, and that's all I want to do is work. Then I get burnt out.
We talked about that in the part that kind of got cut out that we're redoing about how like both of us have the same problem, and it's a thing that creatives have in general, whether they're writing music or whether they're making like visual art, is like, you're laying in bed and all of a sudden at like 4 a.m, your brain will like turn on and start solving a problem that you're having with some particular drawing, or you'll have something that you're supposed to start tomorrow and your brain will be like, I'm going to start working out what this is supposed to be right now. Yeah. Wake up. And you just find yourself
4 o'clock in the morning. You are not going to sleep tonight. Yep.
Yeah.
And then I've got now where I will work really, like if I have a deadline the next day, I'm one of those people that I can't sleep. So I will make sure either that it's in the night before, or I'll work all night and then deliver it at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I could and then I'm not like not sleeping and then waking up at whatever 2 o'clock in the morning and be like, I'm just gonna start it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a curse. That is a curse. And then my other favorite creative person curse is the one where, and I'm going through it right now, in big time, learning this podcasting thing is, when you try to do something new, and by the time you get to the end, you've learned so much about the process of making this particular thing, whether it's like you're learning how to paint with oils or whatever it is. By the time you're done with the thing, you're like, well, I know how to do this so much better than when I started, that this sucks. And now I got to do it over again. And so I'm having that problem with this podcast thing where I'm like, my skills and knowledge are ramping so fast that like things I did a week ago, I'm like, this is not going to be good enough.
Yeah, which is a good thing, but I totally understand that, where I like, or I'll overshoot it and be like, I want it to look like this. And it's one of those like shiny, like done finished products. And then I'm the first time using something. So I'm like, mer, mer, mer. And then I'm like, this isn't exactly what I wanted, because I don't have 30 years experience under my belt.
Right. But you know what? People, I guess, just keep doing it. Just keep plugging away. We don't have any other way of doing anything but that,
Yeah, start somewhere. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, the best way to start is just to do it, I think.
I'm anybody who listens to this show knows that is totally how I view it. And I think people wait around too long to wait for the perfect time, or to wait till they feel ready, or to wait till they're good enough. And I'm just like, nope, I don't think you should. I think you should start doing it right now, because while you could have been waiting around to get good at it, you could have been doing it and making yourself better. So just start doing it. Just start doing whatever it is that you want to do. I don't care if you're cooking. I don't care if you're trying to learn how to paint. Just start doing whatever it is. And, you're going to suck at it, for a while, because that's how the world works. But unless you do it all the time, you are never going to get anywhere with it, and it's
that's the only way is to do it. And here's the deal. You can wait until you feel like you're good enough. But I mean, then you get into that issue of like, are you ever going to feel like you're good enough? And the best way to learn is just to do it. And, you see the progress of your work, and then you're like, wow, okay. I mean, I always feel like with everything I do, I can always improve, and I always want to get better, and I always want to learn. I always want to get better at what I'm doing and what I do and what I can do, and try to like, just keep moving forward on stuff. But yeah, if you wait, then you're just going to be waiting forever.
Yeah. I have been drawing every single day for 45 years. And if I had waited around to get good enough to like feel like I could show people my work, I'd be doing something else. I'd be selling insurance or something. Cause it's like, like you said, like there's always improvements to make. And I did notice, and I don't know if you can kind of speak on this a little bit from your experience, but when I switched over to using a drawing tablet away from drawing on paper and with, traditional tools, and drawing almost entirely on a tablet, my skill level jumped. Like my drawings got better, so much better, so fast. It surprised me.
Yeah, same. I mean, and I fought it for a while. I pen and paper for the longest time, and I do love the photos you can get off of just drawing a pen and paper. It's beautiful. But working digitally, and it was a buddy of mine that was like the first art director of my first job in LA, and he worked for Marvel at the time. And he's like, you need to get a Cintiq. It'll change your life. And I'm like, that shit's expensive. And he's like, oh, trust me, it'll pay off. And the time it saves you and the amount of work you can do. And it is. I mean, just to be able to zoom in and zoom out the amount that you can. And you can't do that with hand drawing. I mean, you can get really detailed, but you have to go big. And then scanning is a pain in the ass. And then trying to line things up after it's scanning is even more of a pain in the ass. Then you got to figure out coloring after. It's a whole thing. The layers, like the different layers to make it separable for silk screening and stuff like that. So, and now you can just build it correctly in the layers that you need for separations. And it's so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Also, not to mention there's an undo button.
Oh, which is so much better.
You can't undo with an ink and paper drawing. There is like, maybe some whiteout, but
I was gonna say, you can hope maybe a little bit of white Clatco will fix it, or maybe when you scan it. But yeah, if you're doing old school full on, no, you can't redo that.
Yeah,
you gotta start from scratch.
For a long time, I used just a traditional drawing tablet that wasn't a tablet monitor. Like for 20 years, I used just a regular one.
thing.
Yeah, were you just drawing like on a tablet? Yeah, I got pretty good at it because of the video game industry. That was kind of the industry standard forever. But I could never do a whole drawing with it. I could embellish and I could color with it and stuff, but I could never do like a full on like inked illustration. And then I got my Cintiq. I wonder if I can. I got my Cintiq. I got my Cintiq, and
Cintiq twins.
and I was like, oh, whoa, okay, I get it now. And it's like I'm like literally working on right now. That I have to finish in the next day or two here. A full oil painting for a board game box cover, and it's like if I had tried to paint that in oils, it would have taken me weeks. And it's like I can just I can do it on my Cintiq. It looks exactly like an oil painting. You would never ever be able to tell that it wasn't. And yeah, it's like, and I don't have to wait for paint to dry or anything. I can just get it done.
I forgot about that. So going back into it, being a digital artist for so long, and then going back. I mean, I did fine art in school and before school, but actually I haven't painted for myself until I'd say like 3 years ago. I started again, but you forget about things like drying times and if the varnish is gonna f the whole painting or any that. Like I feel like I'm going back through learning because I got spoiled, because same way. I mean, I give you so much props. You can even do the old school wacko thing. I could never wrap my brain around it. And I remember everyone at my first job made fun of me because they were all like badass graffiti artists, and they would do that. They would draw on just a little box pad. And I would sit there and I would try, and I'd be sitting there and I'd put the pen down. And I was like, bloop. And then I put the pen down again. I was like, bloop. And I was like, I give up. And then I told them, I remember telling my boss, I was like, when they develop a screen that you can actually draw on, I'll buy the shit out of that and I could use that. But my hand-eye coordination never worked with that. I got great with a mouse. So everything I was doing before, I was doing either hand drawing and then taking it in and doing everything else with a mouse.
Yeah, that with the mouse is crazy. But yeah, like, you know, like I said, the game industry was big on those tablets. And so I used one a lot, like every day for like 20 years. So it is a thing. It is a weird thing to be looking here and drawing down here instead of the other way around. Like you're drawing without looking at your hand. And that is a total mind fuck.
My brain could not figure that out. I tried, because I remember when I got there, they gave me one at the job, and I was like, cool. And we had to do like crazy illustration stuff. It was my first job here was a company called Jenko Jeans. Do you remember the baggy paper pants?
Yeah. I had other friends who worked there. I bet you know. I bet we know some of the same Junko people.
Oh yeah. It was like if you work there, you got this badge of honor sort of thing. It was a hell ride. But yeah, so they gave me the little Wacom thing, and I was like, okay. And I'd never worked with them. And then after like a month of trying it, I literally just gave it back to them. I was like, I don't want it. I can't figure it out, because I was getting yelled at. It wasn't working quick enough because I'm trying to figure out this fucking thing.
We totally digressed off of your archery thing. I think that's rad that you do that. And I don't know, are you able to do it during the quarantine, or are you?
Everything was closed down because it's a park. I think actually I heard that they opened it back up on Friday. So, but honestly, I'm not one of those people. I'm not rushing to run out just yet. I mean, even with the parks and everything like that, like I've been kind of, since the closest to me is Boyle Heights, so I've been running from downtown to Boyle Heights, which is only like 3 or 4 miles. And then they have like a little track there that I've been kind of running during the week a little bit. So, but that's really the only time I've been getting out.
Yeah, I literally only get out to go to the grocery store. Otherwise, I'm so busy with this podcast show that I don't really have any time to do much else. And then like we were talking before I started recording, and I've been working on a project for the last year that I can't really talk much about. So I don't know why I'm bringing it up, but that just like kicked back into gear a little bit. So
is that a problem with your social media? I have a question, because like, I know we're not allowed to talk about things we work on, and I know that social media is so important now. I'm still one of those old school people. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but like, and you always like want to show what you're working on, but you know you can't, you're gonna get fired. So like, how do you handle that? Like, I sometimes will hash up olds. Like, I'll take a video of something that's already approved that I've been working on like a month ago, and then I'll kind of post that. But it's different to hear what people are doing, because if you can't show what you're working on, like I have all this stuff last year that I worked on, And especially since this year's canceled, I'm not going to be able to show anything until maybe next year, maybe the year after. It might not be approved. It's a weird sort of situation.
Yeah, I had three major projects in between like this time 2019 till now, and none of them I could show the work for. Like I did a whole slew of shirts for this company in England, and they didn't want me claiming them as my designs. Like, so they were like, no, we don't want you to put them online. And then I had this other job that I was just talking about that took up like 9 months of my year. And I can't, the company that holds the license to the thing that I'm working on doesn't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to know who the person who did the work was also. And then I've been working on this board game that I was talking about. And I can't show that until that's ready to go. And so I've been in this hell of not being able to show any work. Like I was just, I actually was able to show something today that I finished. I'm back in January, a shirt for this band, Lower Class Brats. And
I liked it. It was great.
But when I went to my Facebook page cause every year I start a new folder, artwork, in 2019, artwork 2020. And then during the year, I just put everything so that for myself, I can be like, oh, what did I do in 2017? I can go back and look. And it's just like a little scrapbook thing for me. And like, there's like 4 things in the 2020 fucking folder. And I'm like,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like, and especially because, well, especially now with merchandising companies and companies in general are going through Instagram to find employees and find freelancers. Well, how is that supposed to be a thing? How are we supposed to get jobs if we can't show our work? And especially if they're scouring Instagram for new jobs. I mean, it's kind of like a weird thing going on right now. And I understand NDAs and I understand that you can't, but some of these companies, like, you can't even claim it ever.
Right. Yeah. I had a bunch of that this year. What I do when I know that I'm going to have like 3 months worth of time where I can't show any new work, I go backwards and I'm like, oh, this is a thing I did from like 2011 for Aerosmith, or this is like, 4 shirt designs I did for Kiss in 2012 or whatever, I just try to go back, even further back if I can, because one of the ways that you can leverage like work from like 10, 15 years ago is by saying like, hey, check this out. This is what I was doing way back then. And this is where, I've come so far since then. And you can turn it into a little bit of story about your progress over the years. But I mean, fuck, it's been a weird year for me in that way,
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I've been able to really show has been some of the paintings I've been doing for galleries, which is like 2 a year. And it's like, ta-da, I did this.
That's fine. That's totally fine by me because your paintings are so fucking good. I could stare at them all damn day.
Thank you.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking time and coming back to re-record the last half of this. For some reason, the software glitched out.
We talked about what to do again.
And so, I'll let you go get about the rest of your Saturday afternoon. And thanks again, Carin, for coming on. And I want to have you back on again for sure, especially when the world opens back up and we all have stuff that we can show or talk about once again. And you can come back on and we can do this again.
Yeah, no, this is great. We were talking about wanting to do it again, so we did it again sooner rather than later. So
yeah, we did.
The first the sounds didn't work in the first one, but this is fun to do again.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure. Yeah, we got a chance to shoot the shit 7 days in a row, or twice in 7 days.
We have in like 10 years.
Totally. All right, Carin. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This was awesome.
Okay.